For this assignment, I stepped into the role of a graduation task force leader at Riverside Unified School District. I looked at 5 years of graduation data, broke it down by student subgroups to find where the biggest gaps are, and use research from our course materials to build a plan that addresses those gaps. The presentation walks the board through the data, what we are already doing, what the research says we should be doing, and how we get there, including timelines, costs, and who's responsible for what. Good evening, members of the Board of Education. My name is Eva Garcia, and I'm leading the District Graduation Task Force. Tonight, I will present our analysis of current graduation rate trends at Riverside Unified, highlight key areas for improvement, and share a strategic action plan grounded in evidence based practices. Our goal is to ensure every student in the district crosses the stage prepared for college, career, and life. Tonight's presentation follow our sections. First, I will walk through our 5-year graduation data story broken down by student subgroups to identify where the greatest needs exist. Second, I will present our strategic response, including current interventions and new evidence-based recommendations drawn from research. Third, I will outline our implementation timeline, required resources, and stakeholder responsibilities. And finally, I will share a plan for monitoring progress, ensuring accountability. Let's begin with the data. Looking at our 5-year overall graduation rate trend, Riverside Unified has made a meaningful progress, climbing from 78% in 2020 to 21 to 83% this year. That is a 5 percentage point gain. However, we still trail the state average by 5 points, which sits at 88%. This tells us that while our trajectory is positive, we must accelerate our improvement to close the gap. The next slide shows how different student groups are performing within this overall number. When we disaggregated the data by student subgroups, the equity gaps became clear. Our white students graduated in 90%, while our English language learners graduate at only 65%, a 25-point gap. Students with disability graduated in 68%, Black students at 72%, and economically disadvantaged students at 74%. As Badfans and Bridgeland 2024 documented in the National Grad Nation campaign, sustained improvements requires homing in the hot spots, the specific populations and schools where the greatest challenges exist. These four subgroups represent our priority focus areas. Research by Benson and Owens in 2022 also reminds us that the Simply Promotion college and career readiness is insufficient unless we address the structural barriers these students face. Before recommending new strategies, it is important to acknowledge what is already in place. On the positive side, our credit recovery programs have expanded significantly. Our freshman transition academics have reduced ninth grade retention by 8%, and we have an automated attendance alert system. We have also expanded CTE offerings with healthcare and IT pathways. However, significant gaps remain. We lack dedicated graduation support for ELL students, which is critical given their 65% rate. Only 12% of our seniors have work-based learning placements. Our bilingual family engagement is limited, and while we have early warnings alerts, the follow-through protocols are inconsistent across schools. These gaps inform the evidence-based recommendations I will present next. Our task force recommends three core strategies grounded in research. First, we need a comprehensive early warning and intervention systems. Balfour and Bridgeland research on the National Grand Nation campaign showed that districts like Chicago, which require principals to monitor freshmen and on track rates and assign teachers teams to review data weekly. So graduation rates climb from 49 to 80% over 12 years. Second, we proposed expanding career and technical education and work-based learning model on approaches documented by Hugh 2024, where districts like Chesterton, Indiana, achieve 65% senior participation in internships through strategic employer partnerships. Third, drawing on Anderson's Butcher and colleagues community collaboration model, we recommend building a multi-agency support network that includes bilingual family liaison, healthcare services, and mentoring, essential for our ELL and economically disadvantaged populations. Our implementation plan has three phases. Phase one, this spring and summer, focuses on building the foundation, deploying the district-wide early warning data system, hiring two dedicated ELL graduation coaches, and auditioning our current CTE pathways, and auditing our current CTE pathways. Phase two, beginning next fall, expands our capacity with the launch of over 100 internship slots through employer partnerships, a bilingual family engagement center, and a structured freshman mentor program. Phase 3, beginning 2027 2028, focuses on sustainability by scaling employer partnerships, integrating health and social services, as Anderson Butcher and colleagues recommend, and establishing an annual progress reporting cycle for the board. Total estimated investments for the phase one is 180,000, and phase two adds 250,000, much of which we will pursue there. Title one, Perkins V, and competitive grants. Success requires shared ownership. The Board of Education would approve funding allocations and set graduation rate targets. District administration coordinates task force operations, manages the data platform, and secures grant funding. Principals lead building level teams and monitor early warning data daily. Teachers and counselors implement interventions and serve as mentors, connecting families to resources. Communities and partners provide internship placements, mentoring, and wraparound services. And families and students are actively engaged in school activities and utilize supports. As the Matthews and 1 2023 emphasize, the most effective system emerge when diverse teams with clear roles collaborate toward shared accountability. Our monitoring approach uses a tiered cadence, weekly on a track reviews of the school level, monthly task force dashboard reviews, quarterly board progress reports with disaggregated data, and a comprehensive annual program evaluation using the adjustment cohort graduation rate. Our key metrics include ACGR, ninth grade on track rates, chronic absenteeism by subgroup, CTE completion and certification rates, and post secondary enrollment within 1 year. On the right, you see our 3 year targets. We aim to raise the overall district rates from 83 to 90%, close the ELL gap by reaching 78%, raise Black student graduation to 84%, and economically disadvantaged students to 85%. These are ambitious but achievable targets, consistent with the progress documented nationally by Balfans and Prisland in 2024, where West Virginia raised rates from 74 to 92% through systemic evidence-based efforts. In closing, our message to the board is simple. Every student deserves a clear path to graduation, whether that leads to college, career, or both. The data shows we're making progress, but the equity gaps demand more focused action. Our task force has developed a research grounded plan with clear timelines, defined stakeholder roles, and measurable targets. Tonight, we ask for your approval of Phase 1 funding, your endorsement of the 3 year graduation targets, and your authorization for the task force to formalize employer partnerships. Together, we can ensure that Riverside Unified becomes a district where every student graduates prepare for their future. Thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions. This slide lists all the references cited throughout the presentation. Thank you.